Hello, water signs Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. Welcome to the Aries full moon. You'll find the timestamps for your rising sign listed below. Hello, Cancer rising. Welcome to your horoscope for the full moon in Aries. This is happening on Friday, the 29th of September at 7:58 p.m. if you're in the southern hemisphere with me. And if you are, you can remember to check out the eastern horizon at 7:58, 2 to 8, and you'll catch a glimpse of the moon. It would have just risen as it becomes exactly full. So it might be a lovely night to take in that view. When the moon's close to the horizon, it looks bigger as well. So it'll be a nice, beautiful sight and lots of light for you to enjoy. We know that anytime the moon does anything, you love it. The moon is the planet that is the guiding light for your sign, Cancer rising. It's the one that shows you the way, that can teach you a lot. So on this, we've got a bit of a story to kind of go backwards to go forwards on this one. Remember the story about the dragon's head and the dragon's tail? This idea of the dragon in the ancient times, folks believing that the dragon was eating the sun or the moon, and the fear around eclipse times, and that those points change signs every 18 months or so. Well, what we're going through right now is the handover, the changing of the guard from one story to the next. And so the dragon's head is now in Aries, and the dragon's tail is in Libra. So there's a deluge of energy pointed towards Aries, and a lot of necessary shedding that's happening in Libra. So if you remember March of this year, we were sowing some seeds way back when. We had a big old talk about your front-facing, most public self, what you wish to be known for, how people regard you and perceive you too. And we were planting seeds for that part of our lives, knowing full well that we're entering into eclipses in Aries and Libra. So there might be some power outages and extra information, extra highlighting on this part of your life. In opposition to that, absolute shedding, necessarily so, in Libra, your fourth house of your home, your private world. Your ancestry, your relationships to family, lots of things to be let go of. So in March, we planted those seeds. Right now, even though the dragon's head is in Aries, it's too far away from the moon to cause any effect. So it's like a reprieve. In this way, at this full moon in Aries, we're spotlighting, again, your 10th house, your career, your most public self, what you wish to be known for and how you wish to be known, what you wish to leave behind, maybe in a sense too. And so there's a spotlight here in this part of life. I would say that the sun in your fourth house of your private world, your home, your roots, is kind of holding that spotlight, and also Athena is in there too. So remember that goddess of wisdom, and the olive branch is down there in your fourth house world. So let's consider our career, our public self, public facing, how people interact with us, what we wish to be known for when all is said and done. Think about how that's developing for you, Cancer rising. Release limitation at this full moon. Allow yourself to feel exactly what emotions are rolling up inside of you in regard to that part of your world. If it's difficult for you to conceive of that part of yourself at the moment, then allow that to be the truth as well. The 10th house can be a burden to carry for some folks that live so much for the results of life, that kind of stay, and it's Aries, so there's something of that, there's something bright about this, cancerrising. Whatever stage you're at in life right now, that's brilliant. I think that sometimes, and I've had some really important chats lately about this, we're all doing our absolute best. We're doing the best with what we've got. And in a culture that is so hell-bent on production and on really kind of disposable output too, all of the higher, most beautiful, pure parts of our culture have been reduced to the term content now. So art is now content, music is now content. It didn't used to be that way. And I think that if we can, in our mind's eye, reframe the way that we perceive our creative output or what it is that we're producing in this life, some things take much longer than Aries would like them to take. Some things take for our whole lives. Some things don't even come into fruition until after we're dead and gone. When it comes to measuring your level of success or your level of output comparative to how much the other folks on your feed seem to be hyper vigilant at mass producing, that's not really something that kind of feels right for you, cancerrising. There's something here that you can take your time. There's something here that works in a cyclical way. The moon is your guiding light, cancerrising, and the moon, month to month, changes every couple of days in a beautiful cycle. The way that you consider your emotional self is your real reason for being here. The way that you can build a relationship with your emotional literacy, your emotional connection to people, the way that you love, the way that you express that love. That's what you need to focus on. As far as riches, not so interesting. As far as being proud of the work that you make, I'd love for that for you. I'd love for you to feel that sense of pride. And I'd love for you to feel relaxed in how long things take as well. When you compare yourself to other people and you see some people working really quickly, and we've all got it in us, we all in different ways, we can sort of like stick to task in this way or that way or the other way. I think what I'm really getting at with this reading is it does feel like it's a reprieve from the eclipse, so we don't have to like batten down the hatches and brace ourselves. We can kind of be like, what is a career? What do I wish to achieve or be known for in this life? How important is that right now to me, considering everything else that's going on? Can I be grateful for the love in my life? Is the love in my life part of my legacy? Part of what I'm known for? My public facing self, it's got a lot to do with love and a lot to do with kindness and compassion. Maybe that's all I really need to worry about. Maybe. It's not for me to say. I know that fire in the belly too sometimes. I know that feeling of like, I just want this key to turn, this engine to turn over so I can get on the road. I know that feeling too. That could be the Aries in it. That could be the matches. Like, let's get this thing done. Either way, like, get off your own back. Yeah, get off your own back. Maybe look to your fourth house too. Where's the wisdom coming from? Is it something? Maybe you've heard me say, maybe you've heard what I'm saying, maybe you've heard it before from someone else. That advice about love being really the only quantifiable, what's the word I'm looking for? We can't take anything with us. And at the end of it all, it's how we experience love that is the only thing that we're going to give a damn about. It feels like there's definitely going to be some massive changes to the way that we all behave with the planet and our relationship to those resources. That's without a doubt. Things have to be implemented, and they will be over the next years. There cannot be the amount of depletion that we're seeing now. Things are getting unpredictable as far as the weather patterns. There's a lot for us to sort of worry and fear about, maybe in some ways feel guilty for as well. I think that would be something definitely to keep in your activism, cancerrising. You can keep that idea of like changing the old structures, the old systems. I'd ease up on this, the guilt that you feel solely as an individual. Don't buy from corporations. Just don't do it. That's fine. That's a great way to access your autonomy and your politics too. Don't feel guilty for the state of affairs. Feel proud of yourself that you're one of the minds that's going to work with others, and it can only happen when working as a group, as a team, to change this stuff. Yeah, that's important to say. It feels like you feel exhausted maybe at the moment, cancerrising. It feels like I actually don't know if I've got any more petrol in the tank. All this talk about the climate, like, yeah, I know, and I'm fucked. I don't know, no one cares. Hasn't stopped the greed. That could be how you're feeling at the moment. I reckon if it is, take this to rest. A full moon in the 10th, because it is the top of your chart, it's the most public part of you. That might be really confronting. That might be really sort of like, there might be a feeling of like all eyes on you, or you feel really exposed at this full moon, because the moon does rule your sign, cancerrising. It's definitely, there's a relationship here. A moon in Aries is really bright. And maybe at the moment you're like, oh shit, I don't know. People are looking to me for solutions, or they're looking to me to act on this or contribute to this cause or that cause, the other cause. And I'm knackered. I don't know what to do. And I'm kind of maybe somewhere in there, I'm thinking that, shit, I don't have much. And I've been working my whole life, and I'm continuing to work for my whole life. And I'm finding it even more difficult to put food on the table. That's not growth. That's not fair, man. That could be something that's sort of running through your body right now. When that happens, it can just feel like just exhausted. If it's stillness that you need at this full moon, forget everything that I said about forget everything that I said. If you're feeling knackered and you're like, yeah, love is the answer, sure, I don't even know if I've got the energy to love at the minute. I'm really worried. I'm worried about the state of the planet. I'm worried about my back pocket. I'm worried about having the stuff, having the energy to keep going. That's how you're feeling at the moment, honey. It's all right. You just do what you need to do with that moon. It's private, maybe. Take a break. there's a lot to be said for like intentional rest. And that sounds like a really hippie thing to say, and also a really privileged thing to say. Some people can't afford to rest, and that's fact. Some people have got to keep going. They've got to get up. No one's going to pay the bills except for them. All of that kind of thing, you know what I mean? This language that permeates the spheres of self-discovery can sometimes be a bit of a smack in the face, because like, yeah, rest, sure. Yeah, you rest. You rest on my behalf because I've got to get back to work. The sentiment's pure though. It's a rest in the moments of giving yourself a break from the worry or the anxiety. My throat's really tight at the moment. You're not being asked to solve this on your own. So when you need to tap out, you tap out. Take a break from holding all of this. When you're ready, when you've refreshed yourself, you can tap back in. I'm hopeful, really hopeful. Life is beautiful and really worth living. And the human species has got a lot to answer for itself. And the way that we relate to one another could do with a bloody birthday and a going over. Abso-flippin-lutely. But let's use the life that we have left here on Earth, and let's enjoy it as much as we possibly can. And when we feel that cortisol, stress hormone, rise, when we start to get a bit foggy or misty or dissociate because it's just too much, back off, tap out, take a break. The system wants you to keep working, wants you to slave away until your bones turn to dust to keep their machines growing. Nah. Sometimes to be a slacker is such a political act. It's true. It's really true. I love you, cancerrising. Take good care of yourself. Enjoy this moon. Enjoy this reprieve from the eclipses. I'm going to be back with you in 2 weeks to guide you through eclipse season. So we'll be talking about Libra. We'll be talking about the final crescendo, the final hurrah in Taurus, in your 11th house of your sense of friendship, community, and belonging. One more eclipse there. What was the story that we're finishing up that started in November of 2021? What's coming to its crescendo? I look forward to it. I can read your birth chart. They look like this. I'll draw you one up, and you can head to umaruby.com and book yourself a place with me. I'll post it to you after we're done too. If I've read for you before and you'd like another one, head to the Back for More tab on my bookings page. I've just published a series of new readings that I've been practicing over winter, and they're ready to share with you. So if you'd like another session with me, book yourself in. You can tip me at buymeacoffee.com/umaruby. I've also added a membership section to that page. If you'd like to support this work on a regular basis, you can subscribe. Other than that, I will see you in 2 weeks for the solar eclipse in Libra. Take care of yourself, cancerrising. Bye. Hello, Scorpio rising. Welcome to your horoscope for the full moon in Aries, happening on Friday, the 29th of September at 7:58 p.m. if you're in the Southern Hemisphere with me. And if you are, I would highly recommend that you pop out, crick your neck out the window and look at the eastern horizon. At 2 minutes to 8, the moon will have crested the horizon, will be rising in the sky and exactly full. So it's quite close to the horizon too, so it'll look a little bit bigger. I love a big moon. I don't know about you. So this is a reprieve, Scorpio rising. This is a time where the moon has escaped the dragon and it's a handover. So what we're doing is we're finishing up an eclipse story of Taurus and Scorpio, And we're handing that over to Aries and to Libra. So if you remember 6 months ago and the horoscope that I gave about planting the seeds of intent in Aries, and how this is the space that might receive extra growth or extra emphasis over the next 18 months. And sometimes it might feel like it's a bit out of our control too, just how much this part of our world is changing. Well, you've got a lot to share with everyone, I would imagine, Scorpio rising. For the past 18 months, since November, I think, of 2021, or perhaps it was the beginning of 2020, the experience of having the dragon's tail in your first house, the necessity for you to shed some parts of yourself, parts of you that thought were integral, parts that needed to shift, that needed to move in order for other things to grow in your life. This is a grand lesson, and this is something that is carrying into a part that's a little bit deeper inside of you. Libra rules the 12th house for you, which is our unconscious work. It's our work that brings us closer to God, the divine will, the collection of intermingling spirits. Whatever tradition you follow, whatever language works for you, you could even just say dreams. If that's easy, that's what I use. That's how I decipher that connection. It's my dreams. When making that commitment, you'll be surprised just how articulate your dreams become and how you get really good at translating those dreams. It's been a difficult road for the past 18 months, at least, Scorpio rising, and you've done a brilliant job to keep going. There's been a lot of focus on your 7th house of your relationships, the other people. There's been a lot of intensity there. There's been a kind of restlessness and urgency to follow that house, to follow that path. There's been things that have shown up in your 7th house, things that have disappeared. Through that instability, we find this clearing now. And for you, Aries rules the 6th house, which in Hellenistic astrology was the house of servitude and of bondage, of feeling trapped or enchained to something. Modern astrology says it's the house of work and repetition. Absolutely. Checks and balances, getting stuff done. Absolutely. But what I like to see here is this emphasis on change in this part of your life. The release in the dreamland parts. Perhaps there's a disbursement of extra support and encouragement that you might feel over this time, that you can sort of take with you and kind of work from, or allow that information to work through you. This could be to do with your ancestors. This could be to do with something that is much further back than you might imagine. But it feels like we're sort of shedding the pains of the past and we're moving towards a different looking future together. And it's taken this personal experience for you of self-release, shed, and the deluge in the relationships, the way that relationships have reconfigured for you, and your ability, your adeptitude at rolling with those punches. This is valuable information. There might be folks that are sort of coming to you for advice at this time, asking you to show them the way. Because of what you've been through, your life experience has proven that you've got the stuff to handle it, that you're strong and you're also really gentle, that your vulnerability is like just as important as your stoicness. Expect valuable change. Expect some old systems, structures of oppression to dissipate. It could be that we're walking into a really brand new, bold way of being. There might be reparations from the past. There might be reparations on behalf of your ancestors or the ancestors of others that are coming into spotlight right now. And we're making reparations for that prior injustice. It's powerful stuff. You of all people are able and ready to do the work, to show folks the way. What shed from you? What fell away from your sense of self over the past 18 months? What did you break through? Who are you now? And how can that inform the well-being of other people? How can that experience, that lived experience, be put to good use, to be put on paper or shared, just chatting about it with folks that you can see might be suffering, or storylines that you can see coming up that you can put your voice to. It's a powerful moment for us all to put our voice to something. Say yes to change. I'm going to get you some tarot, Scorpio rising. I'm looking at Venus as well. Venus in Leo, in your 10th house of your most public self, how you're publicly perceived. The beauty of Venus, the sensuality of Venus is squaring Uranus in Taurus in your 7th house. Now, Uranus has been there for ages, we know this, but in this exact square, 22 degrees to 22 degrees, with Juno in the mix too, I might say. Juno is the asteroid that is representative of the Queen of Heaven, the Queen of the Gods, Hera. In astrology, it's how we relate to people, how we show up, our commitment to them. A square with Venus and with Uranus is like, more of this, please. I feel that there's something that's attached to the way that you're publicly perceived and is informing your relationships. We're having one more eclipse in Taurus that's going to put the stopper on this story, that's going to be a crescendo of this journey that we've taken in your 7th house of your relationships. Be a month from now, a month after this full moon. I feel that something beautiful is about to give way. I feel that you're going to be receiving, on the receiving end, of some deep healing, some deep chats, some emotional rawness and availability. I see that there's a beautiful there's a beautiful dynamic between these two. They're both ready and willing and able to share. One of them's a little vulnerable. One of them is really demonstrative with their emotions. One of them's really articulate with their emotional literacy. They know the ebbs and flows of the feeling body. And I feel them edging together ever so slightly. There might be a common goal that these two folks are aiming towards. And through that public vocation, that public work, there's a spark that occurs. And these two folks find themselves seeing eye to eye and find themselves offering and yearning, seeking for the same thing. after the lessons of the last 18 months, after, and let's face it, lessons is a euphemism, after the friggin' mania of relationships over the last 18 months, the hard truth, the confusion of what relationships are supposed to mean. I just see them getting closer and closer and closer together. Look at them, they're facing one another too. Oh, you've got can I offer you would you like I like it. I like it, Scorpio rising. Well deserved. And right at a time of really profound change. These eclipses are lining up pretty accurately with what I can see in the world around me. What my advice is don't be scared. Jump off. Check the gate, check your safety, but the way that you can tell is by asking your gut, your belly, if this is real, if this is trustworthy, by not fearing that it's going to end, because everything does. That's the truth. That's one constant. There's a lot of people that are spending lots of money trying to have that erase the relevancy of death in their lives. I feel sorry for them. Endings happen, and they happen in many different forms. But the one thing that we can be sure of is that things come to a close. That doesn't mean, that closure doesn't mean that we should avoid entering into them in the first place. If you feel that you're ready, and if you feel that you're in the company with someone who is saying yes, who is really listening to what you have to say, who is feeling you out too, use some of your Scorpio sensibility. You'll feel it. I don't need to give you a pep talk into intuitive prowess. You know who to trust and who not to, Scorpio rising. But this feels like it's coming at the right time. It feels like it's coming at a really lovely time of, and one more eclipse in the 7th house in a month. I wonder what that will look like. You deserve a bit of happiness, Scorpio rising. You deserve to be having that feeling in your belly of like possibility and excitement and yeah. You're doing the work. We're all doing the work. That's our individual responsibility to each commit to the continuum of that work, where doing the work doesn't end. And you're available, and no, you're not available actually. But you can receive love whenever you want. You don't have to wait until you've fixed yourself once and for all to get it. That's the reading, Scorpio rising. I'm running out of steam. You can probably tell by my sleepy eyes. Mercury Gatorade retrograde in Virgo was really frustrating for me. Yeah, I felt there was a lot of crossed wires, miscommunications, a lot of hunger for information, more information, and a lot of people needing to repeat themselves again and again and again. Really ugly. Hopefully now that that's cleared, we can look to the future and we can see with clarity what the truth of the matter is, and we can action change. I look forward to it. You can get your birth chart read by me if you'd like. If I've not read for you before, head to umaruby.com. I'll draw you one up. They look like this. I'll read it to you over Zoom along with your birth cards, your tarot cards that you've had since birth, and then I'll post it to you and you'll have the hard copy. If I have read for you and you'd like another reading, then do head to Umarubi. I've just posted some new versions or some new journeys, some new tarot spreads that I've been practicing over winter, and they're ready to share with you. So there's some keywords over there, there's some song lyrics that might twig your interest, but have a look through and see if there's something there that you might like. If you missed out on getting one of these charts the first time I read for you, if it was before I started drawing them like this, then I will draw you one up especially, and I'll send it to you at the conclusion of that reading. You can head to buymeacoffee.com and you can put some money in the tip jar. I've also opened up the option that you can subscribe monthly if that's something that you feel that you're able to do. I'd thoroughly appreciate that to keep these horoscopes going and to keep my momentum going with producing this work every 2 weeks. I'll speak to you in 2 weeks for the solar eclipse in Libra, and it's going to be beautiful, going to be intense, a lot of questions and talk around justice. What's the right thing to do? What are the changes that need to be made in order for us all to move forward with clarity and with kindness for one another? So I'll speak to you then. Bye. Hello Pisces rising, welcome to your horoscope for the full moon in Aries, happening on Friday the 29th of September at 7:58 p.m. if you're in the Southern Hemisphere with me. Well, let's get some tarot first, and I'm going to gently sort of guide you through this one. I'm feeling exhausted. I'll be honest with you, Pisces rising. The last couple of weeks to month has been really difficult for me to grapple with. This feeling of like walking through clay has been holding me by the ankles, and I've been finding it really difficult to concentrate and to resist the urge to talk cruel to myself. I think that there's something about miscommunication or misunderstanding, maybe, that Mercury retrograde really brought up for me. I was really looking forward to a dam breaking and the rush and the flood of inspiration, and it did not happen. And I'm doing my best to kind of reconcile that and for that to be okay. I think that this full moon in Aries is a perfect evening to reset and to forget and to get pissed off with what you need to get pissed off with. I said this to Virgo, and probably I think only to Virgo, but I think that I'm going to say it here as well. You can yell at the moon. They won't be hurt by that. If you've got frustration or pent up something, some kind of emotion in you that needs to be let out because it's sort of sticking here or it's sticking here, then by all means, yell at the moon. Anger is an emotion, just as valid as the rest of them. It's how we have that emotion play out in our life and in our body and who we're directing it to. Absolutely, under no circumstances is directed anger at someone that we love at appropriate, ever. I really don't believe that. But that doesn't discount the feeling itself. You can find healthy avenues to release some of this pent-up frustration or anger or aggression. One of those ways is by yelling at the moon, because the moon will always receive what you're giving it. That's what the moon is there for. That's why we sometimes howl at the moon, don't we, Pisces rising? Let it out. It's a really difficult time at the moment to connect. It's been a tricky time to reconcile some of the ignorance, perhaps, of other people. So hopefully this moon will be an opportunity for you to get some things off your chest, to say some things that perhaps you couldn't say, there was no opportunity to say, to feel it. We're at a handing over point right now. The eclipses that were occurring in Taurus and in Scorpio over the last 18 months, so since November of 2021, those eclipses that may have had a feeling with them of being held in place, of journeying, traveling, being inaccessible, of finding plans being made and plans being broken, of relationships coming to a crescendo point, and plans made and broken with many people, and for a sort of continuation of being held in a particular place, maybe a place that you weren't so keen on. That might have been something that these eclipses were teaching you. Taurus is the third house of the goddess, though, Pisces rising, the village, the place where we receive lessons through voice and through storytelling, where we learn about different forms of healing and whatnot through language, spoken language, rather than reading in textbooks. The idea of taking a great voyage in Scorpio, in our 9th house, and the limitations to that are wrapping up. There'll be one more crescendo in Taurus, one more story to tell in the 3rd house, and hopefully some real clear, shining bright evidence of why it's been so difficult to set up, why it's been so difficult to move around. Maybe part of that is the compulsion to run away. Because if that's what's in you or was in you, if that was always maybe part of your solution to conflict was to run, then perhaps these eclipses have taught you, Pisces rising, that that is not the way to do things for you from now on. You're a grown-up. You can face things now. You can face difficult moments. You can face crisis with a clarity that you perhaps weren't expected to have when you were younger. Also, the dragon is in Aries, where this full moon is, but the moon's too far away. It won't be gobbled up this time. There will be no eclipse at this full moon. So it's a spotlight instead. It's a spotlight on Aries, and Aries is the house of your values, your talents, your self-worth. So the sun in Libra, the sun in your house of intimate bonds, close connections, of grief, there's sunshine in there right now, and there's someone in your 8th house pointing the spotlight down to your values, your resources, your sense of self-worth, and they're sort of showing you how valuable you are right now, Pisces rising. Take that offer, take that gift. The asteroid Vesta is in Cancer, in your 5th house of creativity and of self-expression. So there's some lingering embers here that I want you to work with. Something can be re-stoked. I always think of Aries and a box of matches. So you can relight whatever fizzled out. If you can think back to March of this year and the seeds that we were talking about planting, and we can take that spotlight and say, okay, so what's grown? Not much. But look deeper. What's grown? Your integrity, your sense of self-worth, your relationship to yourself, the way that you speak to yourself when things are difficult or things are hard to decipher, are muddied. You can take that spotlight and you can shine it on perhaps some of the blockages that still exist in terms of your sense of self-worth. And whoever's in Libra, whoever's got that spotlight, is showing you, being like, this is what you've decided to do with your life, Pisces rising, with your history, what you've been through in this life, what crisis you've survived through, what challenges, what limitations. And this is how you choose to respond and react. This is what you choose to focus on and spend your time on. That's powerful. That you consistently choose love and hope as your weapons. That's powerful. In the tarot, the moon card we know is the Pisces card. I would afford myself a little bit of aggression and a bit of howling at this full moon. There are systems in place that are set up to keep people at a certain level. The worker bees are kept there and kept exhausted and kept clamoring. Equity is when every single human being has a nice life, irregardless of how or what avenue they choose to focus on. I read something really beautiful the other day where it said, a maid or a nurse or a waitress deserves to have just as nice a life as a banker or a lawyer or a magnate. You sort of bust your hump and bust your hump and bust your hump and work and work and work and work. Sometimes that feeds you. Sometimes that lights you up, Pisces rising, when you're really invested and engaged in what it is that you're doing. Your values are aligned with how you provide for yourself and provide for other people. Sometimes it can feel like that workload is just going to swamp you and drown you, and you feel that you're working for the benefit of somebody else's success and somebody else's wealth and somebody else's growth. If that's the case, take the switch, make the switch, change it up. The Great Resignation, it was happening for some sense of purpose. It was to shake up people at the very, very top who have done everything that they possibly can to keep us weak and desperate and worried about providing for ourselves and our family. This has got to change. Your values are based in love. Your values are based in creativity. Your values are based in a free-flowing, endless stream of optimism. When you're working, you're working, Pisces rising. The difficult side of, or the other side of that coin, is when you're down, you're down. And that's all right. We do this stuff because we're developing strategies to get by, and those darker moments will be shorter, won't they? We can register the emotions rising, we can register the frustration, we can register the heartache and the sorrow, the fear perhaps. But by working at it, working with it, we can also be thankful that those times of anguish are shorter and shorter and shorter, because that's what doing the work is. It's not doing the work, completing it. Oh, my mental health's back in gear, you know. It's not something to check off the list. It's a continual process. And like anything in life, it will come around and it will come back around. And that's okay. It's how we meet it when it arrives that makes the difference. goddess of wisdom, Athena, is in your 8th house right now. Athena has an olive branch. Athena passes down solutions and passes down strategy. And so when you think about your 8th house and you think about those ties that bind, those incredible intimate contracts that we sign in this life, and the grief and the sorrow that we go through when we have to say goodbye, we can remember that that is one of the constants in life, that we need to say goodbye to everyone. We can't take anybody with us. We can't take anything with us. What we can take to our very graves and to the spirit land is our capacity to love. And if you've been operating from that as your driving force, Pisces rising, if that's what you can wear on a t-shirt and say, I love to love, I did it for love, what a beautiful way to live. If that's the point, I did it for love. I was trying to love. There's nothing else that you need to worry about. We're entering a space of pivotal change right now, and I can feel that there's a celebration about to begin. When I think of Libra, I think of justice too. In the tarot, it's the Justice card. The moon after this is the Libra solar eclipse. Injustices of the past are going to be eclipsed, and we are going to move forward with reparation at the forefront of our mind. Strategies are going to be enacted. I feel this for you, Pisces rising. And I think let's use this moon in Aries as a reprieve. It's not eclipsed, it is a spotlight. What do you value? What means something to you? What makes life make sense to you? Highlight all of those things and put them at the top of your list. Cross out anything that doesn't make your heart sing. And if you find yourself berating yourself for your shortcomings or your inabilities, questioning your intelligence, I'd like you to catch yourself when that happens and gently refute that, because it's not true. Happy full moon in Aries, Pisces rising. Everything's going to be A-okay. Take those lessons, take this feeling of being contained and held in a certain place, and reflect on what you've learned in that environment. Reflect on what's being handed down to you, because that's sacred. I can read your birth chart if you'd like. They look like this. Head over to umaruby.com and I'll draw you one up. I'll read it to you via Zoom along with your birth cards, and then I'll post you the chart in the mail. If I have read for you before and you'd like another one, head to Umaruby and go to the Back for More section. I've just published a series of new readings that I've been practicing over winter, and I think that I'm ready to share them with you. So if you'd like another reading from me, pick the one you like from Back for More. And if you missed out on one of these charts, don't worry. If you book a Back for More, I'll draw you one up of these and I'll post it to you. You can tip me at Buy Me a Coffee, and you can also subscribe if that's something that you would like to do. If you've got the money for it and you've been enjoying my work over the last years and you think that you'd like to continue that support, there is an option to put in a monthly subscription. That keeps me going here. Much love to you, Pisces rising. Take care of yourself. Feel those feelings. And yeah, like as I said before, anger is an emotion. It's how we work with it that makes the difference. The moon is not going to get pissed off at you if you yell. Give it to them if you need to. They'll take it. Speak to you soon. Bye.